Jumanji the video game is an action-adventure third-person shooter released November 8th, 2019. Only a month before the sequel to the relatively well-received Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle movie. And while I personally think the next level wasn't as good as the original, it leaves me wondering if the game is any good. We'll find out today, here on Kid Game Breakdown. While I'm not exactly sure if Jumanji the video game truly qualifies as an action-adventure game, it certainly qualifies as a third-person shooter with cover mechanics and a heavy focus on co-op. In fact, it's got such a heavy focus on co-op that if you try to play this by yourself, it's basically unbearable, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. The primary mode is titled Play, which encompasses both local play as well as online. There's also a training mode, which is just a short tutorial, as well as Heroes, which is just a character customization section. So hopping into Play, there are two options. Well, once, since no one's playing this trash online. So in the Play local section, we have a character selection, where we can turn on the AI teammates, or turn them off, as well as change the difficulty, or have other local players join into the game. Now, if you have the desire to attempt flying solo, you're in for a near impossible challenge, as the number of opposing AI doesn't scale with your party size. This means that you can get easily overwhelmed without any AI taking some of the heat off of you. But now that you've smartly decided to give the companion AI a chance, you'll face three types of levels. The first is basically a dungeon crawler, which will have you going through a linear dungeon and kill any enemy in sight while collecting board game pieces. The second mode is an area defense mode, and the third will have you dodging various traps while collecting board game pieces. These level types are typically repeated in that exact order, and are all bad in their own rights. The dungeon crawler is likely the best type. They are largely linear and will pit you against enemies at key locations. The board game pieces can be difficult to find at times, despite there being an indicator when you're within a certain range. That's because the indicator is tiny, and they're usually located near enemies, so you can get easily distracted by the enemies, and then accidentally walk your way past the game board piece. It also doesn't really help that game board pieces can be hidden in little nooks that you wouldn't normally go through. While you might not think this is a huge deal, unfortunately it is, because these pieces are required for you to finish the level. That means if you make your way all the way to the end and don't have all four, you're gonna have to backtrack and find it. There are also points that you get for kills, and there are totems around the map that you can shoot and add to these points. And I'm not entirely sure if they mean it as a competitive thing, but this is what you use to unlock cosmetics. One of the other features of all three modes, except for maybe the third, is a gem. And this gem will give you temporary boosts, or your teammates temporary boosts, when you swap it. However, if you keep it on you for too long, it will damage you. And this is where the AI start to become a little bit of a burden. You see, the second mode, the defense mode, will have you stay in a small area with that gem. You have to have that gem in order for it to progress. While it might have actually been okay if the AI will actually play the objective, the AI follow you like dogs. This means that every time you leave the area to get ammo or dodge a barrage of grenades, it means the AI will follow and stop the progress. Even if you stick near the area, the AI won't always get in it if they have the gem, leading to the same issue. And while they also have to pass it around to avoid damage, they pass it around randomly, which means that it can take a while to get back to you. And if you then take it upon yourself to actually play the objective, you will then take damage, and the gem will automatically get passed to someone at random anyway, meaning that these sections can take unnecessarily long periods of time to complete. Since you can't strategically move the gem, like you could if you were playing with actual players. And the third type of level will have you dodging traps, which honestly is fairly boring, but at least I don't think these traps will do any damage to your AI companions, but the addition of the collection of pieces in this level makes it feel a little bit obtuse and just feels like padding. So overall, I think it's fairly clear that this game isn't really worth getting as an adult. Even though you could play this co-op, I don't think many would be up for it unless you had a full team. And while I didn't see any bugs, the gameplay feels bad and the melee combat is even worse, making it a much harder ask, especially with the repetition of the levels. However, when it comes to getting it for a kid, I'm not sure it's quite as simple. There aren't many other kid-friendly third-person shooters, especially with cover mechanics. And unfortunately, that's a crutch for a lot of kids' games. There are just so few that sometimes crap is the only option. If you don't think the cover mechanics is something that's really gonna pique the interest of your kid, I think this really opens up the window a lot. And I think there are much better options, such as Ratchet and Clank, or Orcs Must Die, but you'll have to be willing to expose them to a little bit more cartoonish violence. While I would be fine sitting kids down to play the same games I played as a kid, such as Rated T Blasto or Siphon Filter, you may not be. And that's why you should buy Ratchet and Clank. Not this game. Especially at its asking price of $30. It's just so expensive unless it's on sale. And even on sale, it's just not good. But at least something you can do for free is check out another one of my videos. If you liked it, you know what to do. Until then, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Consider subscribing. This has been Rob the Slob, and I'll see you in the virtual commute.